I wanted to record this quick video to share my understanding and learning about this AutoGPT open source project that's really exciting, and I wanted to share what I've learned so far. So basically, what is this AutoGPT? It's an open source project that aims to create a fully autonomous agent, specifically given a objective from the user, independently executed and achieve the goal. It was created by Turan Bruce Richards, and he's open sourced this project in GitHub. And in the brief 2 or 3 weeks that he's done that, it skyrocketed to about 67,000 GitHub stars, which is phenomenal. So let me just quickly show you how it works in terms of the scenario. So the scenario that I have here is I'm asking AutoGPT, as an energy analyst, I want to understand the current market sentiment for CNQ, Suncor, and Cenovus. And I'm going to ask AutoGPT to summarize what it finds. So I've already have this set up, and I've started to now run this in my VS Code environment. So I'm going to run it, and it's going to talk to the OpenAI API in the background, and here's the results that it's going to produce. So basically, it's basically concluding that it should start with a search for sentiment analysis, and gives you the reasoning. I should start by giving overall sentiment of these 3 stocks before I dive into what the market likes and does not like. And then it gives a plan to search for that, and then it does some self-criticism as well in terms of something to look out for, and then comes back with next actions in terms of what it thinks it should do next, right? So in this case, to Google it with this input on sentiment analysis in industry, focusing on CNQ, Suncor, and Cenovus. So then it's pretty interesting, right? Then you can say yes, and then it'll go and do the Google search, and then it'll iterate through until it finds a reasonable, what it thinks is reasonable for the objective that you stated. So how does this work underneath the covers? I think it's pretty cool to see what's actually happening. So I'm gonna quickly attach a debugger to it. All right, so the debugger will come up, and then I'll hit here. All right, so this is the main loop, right? So AutoGPT has this main loop, and inside this main loop, you have one of the key drivers here is this call to chat with AI. Now, I wanted to call your attention to this prompt here, and I think this is one of the secret sauce here in terms of how it works. So at the heart of the system is this prompt. So let me just show you in the debugger what this looks like. So this is what it's calling, right? So I've unpacked this, right, to kind of show you the prompt that AutoGPT is driving how this works. So it is giving the OpenAI background this prompt. You're an energy analyst and you want to analyze the energy industry, and then it goes on to state the goals that you stated, provides the constraints, and then inside this prompt here, it's kind of cool. It lists all the different commands that it understands. Okay, so this is at the key here, and then it tells it the resources, and then how it actually converges to a solution. So this is how it wants ChatGPT to converge, and then here is the output that it wants. Okay, and one of the outputs is the command. So it's telling ChatGPT, okay, tell me the command that you think we should execute next, right? So that's kind of the heart of the system, because when you look at the prompt, after it executes it, then ChatGPT will then go and find out what command to execute next, and then from there it parses it and then determines the output of the command to execute in the next step. So I'm just going to go and execute this in the debugger. So it's going to it's going to call into the ChatGPT backend with the prompt, and then you see in the assistant reply, it's going to say here, I'll step through this. Set a breakpoint here. I'll run through this again. So start a GPT agent, and then instruct the agent to analyze each article, etc. If you look at the assistant reply, that's basically what it's doing, and this get command will extract from that reply what is the next step, right? So if you step through here, if you look at the command name, right, then it'll tell you the next step, which is then to go and Google it as well, right? So it goes and then it feeds that into the next step that it executes. But then it also provides some memory, right? Some memory of what was in the previous command, right? And this is where, coming back to here, in the next set of commands that it goes back to ChatGPT, it's going to provide the same prompt, but it's going to, in one of the messages here, this assistant context here, it's going to use this as history, so that with the history, the same prompt, ChatGPT will be asked again to iterate and find the new next steps based on the previous context, right? So it's kind of cool, right? It's not that hard actually what it's doing, right? It's got this really neat prompt that outlines everything. It then executes based on the prompt the next command, and then it figures out the next command, does the history, and then it does this again until it converges, right? So that's kind of the inner loop. But anyway, I hope you find this interesting. I'm still digging into this, but this is pretty neat and not that hard.